So we welcome back the Lincoln and Welland Regiment Association, and they're comprised of volunteer musicians who support the regiment by serving the community and engaging in public events. They're always actively recruiting new members, and they're going to travel to Bergen in the Netherlands in October 2024 to celebrate the 80th anniversary of the liberation in World War II. And we have two mounted units this morning, the Governor General's Horse Guards Cavalry. And they provide a horse-mounted ceremonial presence at public and regimental events. They're privately funded by the Governor General's Horse Guards Cavalry and Historical Society. And with them, it's a police mounted. They're located right here in the first house. They're one of the oldest mounted units in North America. They're mounted officers with exceptionally well-trained horses patrol city streets in a crime prevention and enforcement role. Trooper Ed Stafford. Vehicle 1, we have Corporal Terry Smith, who served with the Toronto Scottish Regiment. In Vehicle 2, we have Captain Earl Gardner, who served with the Queen's Own Rifles, and Lieutenant Ron Corello, who served with the RCMP, the OPP, and the Canadian Forces. And he served in Canada and on UN missions overseas. We now are honored to have the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The RCMP is the only police force in the Commonwealth, if not the world, that is a color-bearing corps. We are so pleased to acknowledge and honor the Royal Canadian Mounted Police on their 150th anniversary. Formed in 1873 as the Northwest Mounted Police, they absorbed the Dominion Police in 1920. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, guided, always escorted by an RCMP warrant officer, bears honors for 5 theaters of military operations. Northwest Canada, 1885. South Africa, 1900 to 1902. France and Flanders, 1918. Siberia, 1918-1919, Europe, 1939-45, and they serve on multiple peacekeeping operations, as do many municipal and provincial police officers who work with the RCMP and provide officers for UN missions. Coming up, we have the Queen's York Rangers, pipes and drums. The band was formed in 1986 by a group of students from Sheridan College. One student approached Branch 139, Royal Canadian Legion in Streetsville, and they immediately got behind it. In 2009, the group became the regimental band of the Queen's York Rangers, and they have performed for the royal family at Balmoral Castle, at Juno Beach, Dieppe, Vimy Ridge, as well as performances in Ireland, Spain, Portugal, Gibraltar, France, Germany, Belgium, and Bermuda. And if they're looking for an equipment manager, I'll volunteer. Following up, Lieutenant Ron Torello. As mentioned earlier, he served as Sergeant of the Canadian Forces in Canada and Oregon. And the 1994 Chevrolet pulls an ammunition lumber and 25-pound howitzer, and it's all Canadian made. They're affiliated, as I said, with the 7th Toronto Regiment, and it's a joint effort of the Toronto Artillery Officers and Sergeants Association. Artillery units have a proud and extensive history of service in Canada and abroad. We welcome the Toronto Police Mounted Unit. The Mounted Unit was formed in 1886, and they're celebrating their 136th year. And in a minute, we're going to welcome the Governor General's Horse Guards Band. As Canada's senior militia regiment, the Governor General's Horse Guards trace an unbroken history back to 1810, when Captain John Button raised the first cavalry troop in Upper Canada. This troop was one of the troops amalgamated into the Governor General's bodyguard to form the regiment. In 1936, the Governor General's bodyguard and the Mississauga Horse amalgamated to form the Governor General's Horse Guards. It is one of 4 authorized brass and reed military bands and 32 Canadian brigade groups, and it has developed an important additional role in outreach to the community as an ambassador of the regiment. And following the band is the Governor General's Horse Guards Association. And we welcome the Queen's Own Rifles of Canada Association. They're the longest serving infantry regiment. They've taken part in every Canadian military campaign and served with distinction in World War I and World War II, in which 7 riflemen were awarded the Victoria Cross. Now we welcome the Canadian Airborne Forces Association. They represent Canadian paratroopers from World War II to the present day. They served in conflicts throughout the world, maintaining a high standard of professionalism and loyalty to Canada. And the next group will be near and dear to our reviewing officer's heart because it's the 99th, an inter-organization of women pilots. They originated by aviation icon Amelia Earhart, and they're comprised of women pilots around the world. Those marching salute the women pilots who served so bravely during World War II and Air Transport Auxiliary, a British civilian organization which women, some Canadians, flew aircraft in Europe from factories to airfields in all types of weather and adverse conditions. And now we welcome the 48th Highlanders, Pipes and Drums. The band performed on the first parade of the regiment in 1891. They're recognized as one of Canada's preeminent musical organizations. The band has performed at many military functions, including royal visits, Remembrance Day parade, state funeral. The 48th Highlanders Veterans Association. They exist to preserve the bonds of comradeship among Highlanders, to promote traditional and well-being of the 48th, and to generate pride and esprit de corps among the regimental family. We now welcome the Toronto Paramedic Services Ceremonial Guard. They've celebrated 30 years of marching with pride. This award-winning contingent has participated in countless parades. Next, we welcome St. John Ambulance Brigade. The contingent is comprised of current, active St. John officers and members, as well as St. John veterans and retired officers and members. All members are volunteers, providing first aid duties and training to the communities they serve. And vehicle number 8, we have Corporal Thomas Allen, who served with 411 Squadron in Downsville. He's serving in the Canadian Reserve. We have 2 units together, the Army, Navy, Air Force Veterans of Canada, Lakeview Unit. They're the oldest veterans organization in Canada. And we have the Toronto Scottish Regiment, Queen's. Coming up, the Toronto Fire Service Pipes and Drums. They were formed in 1998 to represent members of the Toronto Fire Services. The band is made up of members and retirees of the service. Their unique partner was designed by Mr. Anthony Cunningham of Toronto and made by Loch Heron of Scotland and registered with the Scottish Carpenters Authority in Scotland. Welcome to the Toronto Police Military Veterans Association. 2022 marks the 100th anniversary of Toronto Military Veterans Association. we have Ralph Miller from the American Legion 457. And I'd like to mention that with the Toronto Police, the Veterans Unit today, marching with them was 98-year-old Jack Reed, who joined the Royal Canadian Navy in 1943. Now we have the Canadian Corps of Commissioners, the Great Lakes Ceremonial Unit. They're Canada's largest private sector employee of veterans with over 22,000 employees across Canada. They're a not-for-profit organization with a social mandate to provide meaningful employment to former members of the Canadian Armed Forces, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and Allied Forces. And with them is the Great Lakes Corps of Commissioners Service Women's Organization. And we welcome the Halton Regional Police Services, Pipes and Drums. They represent Chief of Police Stephen Tanner, and the spirit of the Halton Police Community Band membership is comprised primarily of civilian volunteers, and it's made up of 16 pipers, 5 snare drummers, and 1 bass drummer. They were formed in 1987, and they're under the direction of pipe major Michael Duffy, former member of the Argyle and Southern Islanders. We welcome the Toronto Fighters War Veterans Association. And now the City of Toronto Canadian Veterans Colour Party Group. They were formed in 1929, made up of civic employees of the City of Toronto. Their guard commander is Kelly Jackson. And the Toronto Transit Commission Supervisory Honor Guard. They're celebrating 27 years. We have with us coming up the Scarborough Pipes and Drums. They were established in 1959, and the band wears the McLean of Duart Tartan and cap bag. They're a very active Royal Canadian Legion band comprised of members of all ages and backgrounds, performing traditional Scottish music. And now we welcome the North Regional Police Ceremonial Unit. We represent the Chief of Police of York Region, and the unit consists of sworn police officers from all areas of York Region. And now we welcome Peel Regional Police, the Chief Ceremonial Unit. The Guard is an extension of Chief Durapah, who they provide guidance and mentorship to members of Peel Regional Police. And now we welcome the Canada Border Services Agency Ceremonial Unit. This December, they'll be celebrating their 20th anniversary. And now we welcome the Ontario Correctional Services Ceremonial Unit. And we have the Vintage Signals team. They consist of 3 district sections that include not only vintage signals, but a radio section and Cold War section. Now we welcome the Royal Canadian Legion, District E, Mass Pipes and Drums. This district sponsors a very well-attained track and field championship, and this year it will be held in Midland, Ontario. And coming up is the Royal Canadian Legion Ontario Command Marching Unit. President Derek Moore, immediate past Third President Gary Fawn, First Vice President Lynn McLennan, Vice President Diane Condon, Crystal Cook, and Mark Rogers are along with the committee chairs and provincial council members. And we thank you folks for the great work you do every day in all of our communities. And the Dairy Flute Band. They're a non-profit organization comprised of volunteer musicians, founded in 1908 in Toronto by a group of Irish immigrants from the county of Bergen. And Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 614, Scarborough, appropriately named Centennial Branch because they were formed in 1967. And Royal Canadian Branch number 24 from St. Catharines, Ontario. And in October, they'll be celebrating their 97th anniversary. Coming up, Royal Canadian Legion Branch 43, Oshawa, Pipes and Drums. And they were the previous winners of the Honorable Lincoln Alexander Pipe Band Award. Coming up shortly, the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 121 Pro. Their branch now has the largest color party. They have reached a membership of 24, and their leader is Mr. Dean Broad, who is a 20-year veteran of the British Army. Following up behind is Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 10, Todmorden, Ontario. They proudly served the East York and surrounding communities for over 97 years, and they're still counting. Next we have Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 31, Mount Dennis. The Parade Marshal for the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 31, is Peter De Bruin. We have the White Heather Pipes and Drums. They're under the leadership of Pipe Major David Beach, and they wear the ancient McPherson target. Coming up next is Royal Canadian Legion District E. The Royal Canadian Legion provides services to all veterans, including serving military RCMP members and their families, and also to promote remembrance and serve our communities and countries. Now we have the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 110 from Trenton, Ontario. They've been a very active contingent for many years at the Warriors Day Parade. The Royal Canadian Legion also sponsor poster, literary, public speaking contests to encourage our children and youth to learn more about our Canadian military history and honor remembrance in creative ways. Now we have the Toronto Signals Color Guard, followed up with the band. The band are a marching band and drum bugle corps affiliated with 32nd Signal Regiment and the Royal Canadian Forest Signals. They're made up of volunteers with the nickname Canada's Marching Ambassadors, formed in 1926. They perform for many audiences throughout Canada and the United States. Now we welcome the Royal Canadian Legion Ladies Drill Team. They're from Lorain, Ohio, so they come a long way, and they're led by Captain Sharon Reigelsberger. They promote their heritage throughout the Northeast United States and Canada, performing at many Canadian and Scottish events, and for veteran and service organizations. The team is sponsored by the Knights of Columbus in Lorain, Ohio, and they're members of Royal Canadian Legion Branch 266 strong. And now we welcome Royal Canadian Legion District D. And now we welcome St. Andrews Pipes and Drums in Mississauga. They're a family-friendly, community-based teaching band, and they provide free bagpipe, drum, and drum majoring instruction. They were formed in 1978. And we have the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 527, and the Royal Canadian Legion, Branches 1 and 42. And Royal Canadian Legion Branch 286, Coronation, Rexdale. And we have the Royal Regiment of Canada Band. They're commemorating the 81st anniversary of the Day Parade that took place on this day 81 years ago. Next is the Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 178, Canadian Veterans Project. Welcome the Hong Kong Ex-Servicemen Association. They're celebrating their 75th anniversary this year, and they'll continue to hold the Battle of Hong Kong service later this year in keeping with the history of Hong Kong and Canadian links during World War II to honor the forgotten heroes. And now we welcome Royal Canadian Legion, Branch 621. They're celebrating their 73rd anniversary to the Royal Canadian Legion and the Polish community. And this is the Indian Armed Forces. We welcome them to our parade. Yes. And with them, I introduced earlier Sergeant Harry Singh. And now we welcome the Republic of Vietnam Veterans Association. They're celebrating their 40th anniversary of the association in Ontario. Estimated that the Vietnam War resulted in the deaths of as many as 2 million Vietnamese civilians, 1,100,000 North Vietnamese soldiers, and 250,000 South Vietnamese soldiers. And now we have the Dominion of Canada Reenactment Corps. They're a new group formed last autumn, and they bring to life the Canadian Johnny Canucks. And the Vietnam Veterans of America Rochester unit, they've been in our parade for many years, and they're strong supporters. They've been here since 1987, and they marched to commemorate the over 58,000 men and women, including Canadians, who made the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam. An American Legion Post 457, Sealy B Parish. They've received numerous awards over the years, including memory from our Wars Day Parade. And in the vehicle we have Mr. Ralph Miller from the American Legion 457. Thanks for all the support you continue to give us. Now we welcome the Republic of China Veterans Association in Toronto. They're Taiwan, which originally was called Formosa, a Portuguese name meaning beautiful. They once ruled all of China from 1911 to 1949, but moved to the island of Taiwan after a Chinese Civil War. They were in the war early, and they'll always be known and respected as the first to fight because their war began in 1937. And there's a color party coming up, led by Captain Yu Chin Fong. And the Korean Marine Veterans Association Color Party. So we welcome the Polish White Eagles Cruising Club. They're a club that ride in support of their veterans. While we have a little lull, I'd like to share with you that the main focus of the Royal Canadian Legion is Operation Leave the Street Behind. The mission is to ensure that every veteran who is homeless or near homeless finds help they need to leave the streets. Working with local resources such as Out of the Cold, food banks, churches, local emergency personnel, and governments at all levels, I'll ask you this question: have you had military service? Many veterans in distress have been helped. However, there are many more on the streets that still need assistance. And now we welcome the folks that are key players in making this parade happen. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big welcome to the parade marshals. led by Chief Parade Marshal Brian Button. And we also receive a lot of help on this parade from our scouts, guides, from our cadets, and we're very appreciative for all the help they give us.